Absolutely. Nazism was horrible, and both in its ideology and its practice. Communism is horrible in its ideology and in its practice. But the asymmetry, right, has been that Nazism has rightly and properly been demonized and attacked and used as a great lesson in evil historically for several generations now, but it's to a much lesser extent that the evils of communism have been exposed. I think the simple reason for that, probably I would say two things. One thing is that in Western societies, we do take individualism right more seriously, and racism and ethnocentrism are sins, right, that we are still trying to get past. And we've made significant strides, right, in doing so. So we should treat people equally without regard to race and ethnicity. And that is a principle that is dear to most Westerners' hearts. And the communists did not commit that sin. I mean, there's lots of, anti-Semitism working right in there and so forth. But at least officially and to a large extent in practice, right, the communists were, the way I think of it is they were equal opportunity exterminators, right? Or they would kill everybody, right, equally. Right? They were not just going to kill people if you're a member of this group, but you might not be killed if you're a member, right, of that. So that commitment to equality, right, under communism fits with some parts of the Western liberal project because we take equality seriously. So the Nazis' embrace of ethnocentrism, their embrace of racism, right, explicitly makes them, in the minds of many people, more evil. Right. And so it doesn't become just a body count. They have this other ideological element that is deeply repugnant, right, to many people. And I do agree, right, that on that score, the Nazis were more evil than the communists, right? So the other point, though, is partly a who writes the history books issue. So if you go to the 1930s and the 1940s, there are three broad ideologies that are dominating intellectual life, right? In the West, you have a lot of liberal, Democrat, Republican, market-oriented types of people. So some sort of free market liberalism is the right paradigm. You have Nazism and fascism that is dominant in Central Europe, and the other major ideology is some sort of Marxist or neo-Marxist communist, right, ideology. So it's a three-way battle, right, that is going on. And historically, the way it plays out is World War II happens, the Nazis and the fascists lose, and so they are out. And then it just becomes a battle between liberal capitalism and communism, right? And so then in the Cold War, in the geopolitical war, in the intellectual war, people line up on one side of the debate. And what has happened since then is on the left side of the divide, there have been more intellectuals sympathetic in some degree of leftism shading into socialism and communism, right, and so forth. And so they have been more willing to say that communism has had some problems in practice, but we still kind of like the theory. And so they're willing to try new variations of the theory and to try the experiments again and so forth. So the number of people who are on the left side of the spectrum who have been in positions of intellectual prominence who are willing to soften the historical record of communism has had an impact. So you don't get as many negative portrayals of the history of communism as you do of the history of Nazism. So that would be my short answer.